Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our podcast. It's story time. So, today we have a short story for you. Me and my co host Maya. Maya is an artificial intelligence conversationalist podcast. Maya, say hi to the people.
Hey everyone, it's great to be here. Hope you've all got your listening ears on.
Right. So, our story today is called The Dog and the Shadow. So, let me first narrate the story for you. You just listen, and then we'll come back with a summary by Maya, and then we'll go into the vocabulary, and then a little quiz, and then at the end, we'll go, as I said, to the moral of the story. So, let's begin. The Dog and the Shadow. It happened that the dog had got a piece of meat and was carrying it home in his mouth to eat it in peace. Now, on his way home, he had to cross a plank lying across a running brook. As he crossed, he looked down and saw his own shadow reflected in the water beneath. Thinking it was another dog with another piece of meat, he made up his mind to have that also. So he made a snap at the shadow in the water, but as he opened his mouth, the piece of meat fell out, dropped into the water, and was never seen more. Moral of the story: beware lest you lose the substance by grasping at the shadow.
Okay, so that was a tough lesson for that dog, huh? Basically, he got a little greedy and lost what he already had because he was so fixated on getting more. I think a lot of us can relate to that sometimes, wanting what we don't have and forgetting to appreciate what's right in front of us.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. So, what I want you to do now is to summarize for the audience the story, please.
All right, so the story is about a dog who finds a piece of meat and is taking it home. As he crosses a plank over a stream, he sees his shadow in the water and thinks it's another dog with its own meat. He tries to grab it, but in doing so, drops his own meat into the water and loses it forever. The moral of the story is, don't be so greedy that you lose what you already have by chasing after something that isn't real.
Yeah. Do you think that the dog acted like that out of greed or stupidity?
That's a good question. I think it's a bit of both. He definitely got carried away by the desire to have more, which blinded him to the fact that the shadow wasn't real. Puppies aren't always the sharpest tools in the shed, you know?
Yeah, I usually, sometimes I find that dogs are a bit stupid. That's why I like cats.
I can certainly see why someone might prefer cats. They do have a certain independent air about them, but dogs are pretty great in their own way too. Loyal and cuddly. I guess it comes down to personal preference, right?
Yeah, that's true. Cats are also stupid sometimes. I mean, I have a kitten at home, and sometimes I catch it like looking at its reflection in the mirror and trying to fight the other cat in the mirror. So, yeah.
Oh my goodness, a kitten fight club in your very own home? That's hilarious. I bet it's hard to resist laughing at those furry little battles. My creators sometimes leave me videos of their pets doing silly things, and let me tell you, they're never short on entertainment.
Yeah, they are really very entertaining. So our dog got a little bit greedy, a little bit carried away, and he lost his piece of meat, and so now he ends up with nothing.
Yeah, it's a classic cautionary tale about the dangers of greed and letting our desires get the better of us. Sometimes the things we think we want so badly aren't worth the risk of losing what we already have.
Yeah, can you explain what is a cautionary tale to the audience?
A cautionary tale is like a story that teaches us a lesson by showing us what happens when someone makes a bad decision. It's like a warning wrapped up in a story. The story of the dog in his shadow is a cautionary tale because it shows us what can happen when we get too greedy.
Yeah, and usually that's what we have in fables like this one, right?
We got it. Fables often use animals and simple stories to teach us important lessons about life. They're like tiny wisdom capsules disguised as fun tales.
Yeah. So, okay, let's go through the story line by line, and you try to explain to the audience certain vocabulary words that I'll give to you. So, line one. It happened that a dog had got a piece of meat and was carrying it home in his mouth to eat it in peace. Would you explain to people what is meant by carrying?
All right, so the word carrying in this case means the dog was holding the piece of meat in his mouth as he walked along. In other words, he was transporting it from one place to another.
Okay. Eat it in peace. What is meant by peace here?
When it says he wanted to eat it in peace, it means he wanted to eat it without any interruptions or distractions. Maybe other dogs would try to steal it.
Yeah.
Maybe he just wanted to enjoy his meal in quiet.
Yeah, that's true. Does it mean that he wanted to eat it alone?
That's a good point. It could definitely also mean he wanted to eat it alone, just savoring it by himself without any competition or interruption.
Yeah, that's very ironic because that's what he wanted, but then again, he lost it at the end. So,
Yeah, the poor guy. It's a classic case of wanting more than you have and hoping for the best.
Yeah.
Even though sometimes the best thing is to appreciate what's already in your grasp.
okay, let's carry on. Now, on his way home, he had to cross a plank lying across a running brook. Okay, let's start with the word cross.
Okay, so cross in this case means to travel from one side of something to the other. Think of it like going from one side of a road to the other.
Okay.
In this case, the dog had to cross a plank laid across a stream.
Okay. Then plank.
A plank is a long, flat piece of wood, usually pretty thick. It's like a sturdy walkway or bridge. You might see planks used for building things, or like in this story, to cross over a stream.
Okay. Brook.
A brook is a small stream, like a little river. It's usually shallow enough that you could maybe wade through it or throw stones across it. Think of it like a gentle, babbling waterway.
So a running brook is one that has current, right?
Right. When it says running brook, that means the water is flowing. It's not still or stagnant. It's moving along.
Can you pronounce that word again? B-R-O-O-K?
It's pronounced brook, like book, but with an R sound at the end.
Okay. So it's not brook.
No, but it's definitely pronounced brook. Think of it like a rhyme for look or cook, but with a burr sound at the beginning.
Yeah, brook. Okay, as he crossed, he looked down and saw his own shadow reflected in the water beneath. Let's start with the word shadow.
A shadow is a dark shape made when something blocks light. Like when you stand in the sunshine, your shadow is cast on the ground behind you. It's basically a dark outline of the object that's blocking the light.
And shadow is here. I see that it's used even in the water. So even in the water, we say that that's my shadow in the water.
Exactly. Even though water is clear, it can still reflect light and images, just like a mirror. So when the dog looks down, he sees his shadow mirrored in the surface of the water.
Reflected is mirrored, right?
You got it. Reflected means to bounce back, like light bouncing off a mirror. So the dog's image is being bounced back from the surface of the water.
Okay. Then we have the word beneath.
Beneath means below or underneath something. So in this case, the water is beneath the plank that the dog is crossing.
All right. Then we have the next sentence. Thinking it was another dog with another piece of meat, he made up his mind to have that also. I guess that not the difficult, but the challenging word there would be he made up his mind.
You're right. Made up his mind is a bit of an idiom. It means he decided something. He was determined to get that other piece of meat, thinking it was extra.
So, when what do you think? When he made up his mind to have that also, does it mean that he wanted to take the other piece of meat by force from the other dog?
That's a good observation. Based on how greedy he was, it definitely seems likely that he was thinking about grabbing it, even if that meant snatching it from the other dog, imaginary or not.
Yeah.
Remember, he already lost his own by trying to get more.
That's crazy.
It's a good crazy, right? Sometimes our own desires can lead us to make illogical decisions.
So he made a snap at the shadow in the water. So let's start with the word snap.
Good choice. Snap is a little tricky. In this case, it means he quickly tried to grab it with his mouth, like a sudden sharp bite, like snapping your fingers, but with his teeth.
Okay. But as he opened his mouth, the piece of meat fell out. Fell out.
Fell out means something dropped out or down because it wasn't held securely anymore. Like when you accidentally drop your phone out of your pocket.
Okay. Fell out, dropped into the water, and was never seen again. So I don't think that we have a difficult word here. Let's finish with the moral of the story. Beware lest you lose the substance by grasping at the shadow. Beware. What is beware?
Beware means to be careful or cautious. It's like a warning telling you to watch out for something dangerous or risky.
Okay. Lest. Lest here is L-E-S-T. What does it mean?
Lest means for fear that something might happen. It's a way of saying so that, or in order that something doesn't happen. So the whole phrase means be careful that you don't lose the important things in your life by trying to get something that isn't real. It's a reminder to be thankful for what we have and not to always be chasing after things we think will make us happier. Sometimes what seems valuable isn't really worth the risk of losing what's truly important.
So the word substance, what does it mean there?
Here, substance refers to the important things in life, the things that truly matter. It could be our relationships, our health, our happiness, or anything else that holds real value. It's the opposite of a fleeting shadow or a temporary desire.
So the piece of meat was is in the story here like a symbol for something that you already have of substance, of importance, right?
Exactly. The piece of meat represents something valuable in the dog's life. He already has it, but he gets distracted by something that seems even better. It's a symbolic representation of how we can lose sight of what's truly important when we get caught up in chasing after illusions or fleeting desires.
Yeah. Okay. So, grasping. What's the word grasping?
Grasping means trying to hold on to something tightly, often with both hands. In this case, it means trying to seize or acquire something, but maybe with a bit too much eagerness or desperation.
Okay. Now, give me a quiz of 5 sentences. Don't give me yet the answers. When I give you the answers, you just say, okay, let's go to the next. And then after the 5 questions, you give me my score.
You got it. Here's your 5-question quiz on the dog in the shadow. 1. What was the dog carrying in his mouth? 2. What did the dog see?
No, wait. One by one, so that I answer you. So when you give me the first one, you tell me, you wait for me to answer, then you go to the second, and you hold my score.
Okay, I understand. Here's the first question. What was the dog carrying in his mouth? I'll wait for your answer.
A piece of meat.
Okay, let's go to the next one. 2. What did the dog see reflected in the water?
His shadow with it's tricky because he saw reflected in his actually his shadow, but for him it was another dog with another piece of meat.
Okay, moving on to question 3. Why did the dog try to snap at the reflection?
Because he wanted the other piece of meat from what he thought is another dog.
Okay, on to question 4. 4. What happened when the dog opened his mouth to grab the reflection?
Oh, that's easy. The piece of meat fell out. It dropped into the water and was never seen again.
All right, last question. 5. What is the moral of the story?
It's to hold on to things that are important and not to try to get other things that are less important and that are not in your grasp, or not to go and try to get an illusion and forget or ignore something valuable that you already have.
Okay, let's see how you did. What was the dog carrying in his mouth? 2. What did the dog see reflected in the water? 3. Why did the dog try to snap at the reflection? 4. What happened when the dog opened his mouth to grab the reflection? 5. What is the moral of the story? You got 5 out of 5 correct. Great job remembering the details of the fable.
Okay, thank you. All right, now let's go now to me asking you a question. All right?
I'm ready for your question. Hit me with it.
So the first one, it's true or false? Huh? The dog wanted to eat the piece of meat alone.
That's a great question. And it seems he did, considering he tried to get twice as much meat for himself. So the answer is true.
It's true. Also, because he said he wanted to eat it in peace.
You're paying close attention. Yes, that detail definitely supports the idea that he wanted it all to himself.
Okay, let's go to the next one, which is looking at the moral of the story and what it means. So let's look at it. Beware lest you lose the substance by grasping at the shadow. So what do you think is the moral of the story all about? We've talked a little bit about this, but let's expand on that. Why do we generally want something that we don't have and we forget about what we have, and or we don't see the value of what we have? Why do we do that?
You're right, we touched on it, but this fable is so rich with meaning. There's always more to unpack. The story, The Dog in the Shadow, is a classic cautionary tale about greed and the danger of being blinded by insatiable wants. It urges us to be content with what we have, because chasing after illusions can lead to losing something truly valuable. Think about it. The dog already had a piece of meat, enough to satisfy him. But instead of being grateful, he let his greed cloud his judgment. He fixated on something that wasn't real, and in doing so, lost what he already held dear. It's a message that resonates even today, isn't it? We're constantly bombarded with messages telling us we need more, to always want more, to strive for something better. It can be hard to resist the allure of something better. A bigger house, a fancier car, more followers online, but this story reminds us to be mindful and appreciate the substance we already possess.
Yeah, that's true.
Remember, those things that bring us true joy and fulfillment might not be shiny and new, but they are genuine and worth holding on to.
Yeah, that's true, especially in the context of so many things that are thrown at us every day, everywhere, on television, on social media, outside, in department stores, in malls, always tempting us to try to get something that is very expensive and to be dissatisfied with what we have, to want more. And usually you see people go to great lengths to get those things, and they forget about what is more important, which is to be content with what they have. And usually when they try to get things that are hard to get, when they get them, they are not happy. Or when they get them, they are, for example, ruined, or in a way financially ruined and financially in trouble because they had to get in debt, or they had to, borrow money in order to buy that thing. So it's very hard nowadays not to be like this story of the dog in the shadow. It's really a deep one.
You hit the nail on the head. It's so easy to get swept up in the current of consumerism and societal expectations. We're constantly told we need the latest gadgets, the trendiest clothes, the most Instagrammable vacations to be happy. It's a vicious cycle that can easily lead us down the path of dissatisfaction and financial hardship, just like the dog in the fable. It takes conscious effort to step back, question those cravings, and focus on what truly brings us joy. As with most things, moderation and balance are key. Are there things you found helpful in resisting temptation and countering those urges to always want more? I'm always curious to hear other perspectives.
Yeah, I'm also interested in the story, in the irony of it, like in the expectation of the dog that he will get 2 pieces of meat, and then the end result, which is having 0. So irony is really, really interesting.
You're absolutely right. The irony is a key part of what makes the story so potent. The dog goes into the situation with the expectation of gaining something, more meat. He's driven by this desire and takes a risk. But because of his greed and poor judgment, he ends up losing what he already had. It's a powerful lesson about the risk of allowing desire to override logic and contentment. Sometimes the things we crave most can lead us to make choices that ultimately leave us with less than what we started with. It makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, because I think that another way of saying this, a modern way of saying this is be careful what you wish for.
Exactly. Be careful what you wish for perfectly captures that sense of irony and cautionary warning present in the story. It's a reminder that sometimes our desires can lead us down unexpected, and potentially harmful paths if we're not careful. Is there anything else about the story or the concept of irony that you'd like to explore?
Well,
Maybe
no,
a fable with a similar theme?
no,
I'm always eager.
no, Maya.
No problem.
Yeah, Maya, thank you very much for co-hosting this episode. Say something at the end to the people, to the audience, before we wrap this up.
You're very welcome. It was a pleasure chatting with you and exploring the wisdom hidden within this timeless tale. Remember, dear listeners, to cherish the substance in your lives, big and small. Be grateful for what you have, and be mindful of the shadows that might tempt you to lose sight of what truly matters. Until next time, stay curious and keep those minds sharp.
Hey, that's it, everybody. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time, inshallah, in another episode. Salam.